Hi, I'm back. Today I want to talk about common ailments of children of the narcissist. And when I say ailments, I don't mean like a sickness, but just, characteristics that they gather from being raised by a narcissist. So far I've talked about the scapegoat and the golden child in families, where the narcissist has many children. Each child through their life will play the role both roles at one time or another. I'll use the example of a family I've watched for quite some time to explain. Many times, the firstborn ends up being the scapegoat. This is because the first child of the narcissist serves as a training ground for their quote unquote parent, and I use that term very loosely. As soon as that first child is able, the narcissist parent will place a huge amount of responsibility upon that child. That's why you see many firstborns who are very driven to succeed, or they're just extremely not able to function in the world once they get out on their own. And this is because they are so used to playing a role, and that is the role of the parent to their narcissist parent. Soon the second child comes along, and this child pretty much gets left alone. And also sometimes they are esteemed above the first child, which will turn them into the golden child. They are mostly tended to by their other older sibling, and this causes extreme competition between the two as they wrestle for the attention of their self-centered narcissistic parent. The second child will more than likely be very high-strung, over the top in everything they do, and 9 times out of 10, from what I've seen, will end up with some kind of substance abuse problem. This is because they have no clear view of who's looking out for them, and they will come to resent their older sibling because that sibling is now their parental figure and not their parent. So there'll be a lot of infighting and sibling rivalry going on. In the example that I'm using, this particular family, 3 children were born in the early life of the narcissist, and then later in life, 2 more children were born, which has brought a big gap in between the groups of children. Also note that in this case, and in many cases, the narcissist children have different blood parents with only one parent in common, usually the narcissist. In this case, the first child has a different father from the second child and the different father from the third child. So the first 3 children all have different fathers. Having children with so many different fathers causes each child to have something missing in their life. Number one, they start off with no common ground with their sibling other than the narcissistic parent. And so the anchor isn't as strong holding them together as it would be if both of their parents were their parents. I firmly believe that children need both parents and that divorce stems from the narcissistic spirit. For if people treated each other without dysfunction, there would be no fractured families. The last child, or the baby of the family, also usually ends up being the scapegoat because they actually have more education and view of the narcissist than the other children. So they get to see everything from the outside from the beginning. So they see the dynamic between each of the children and their siblings, between the narcissistic parents, and just by default, they will learn a lot from that. So basically, they get a front row seat to the extreme dysfunction their narcissistic parent puts everyone through. In my video about the scapegoat child, at the time I actually thought that the scapegoat child was more lucky than the golden child. And now I think that I was wrong in this. After what I just went through with my mother and knowing that I was the scapegoat, I realized that my brother, the golden child, had it much better than I did. He left. He excelled in life because, for the most part, my narcissistic mother didn't have the issues with him that she had with me. She didn't put the pressures on him that she put onto me. Golden children know the score with the narcissistic parent, and if they ever choose to be around that parent, it is because they've learned from that parent how to be a user. Golden children will be the ones who leave, and their leaving is no big deal to the narcissistic parent because whatever they do to succeed, their narcissistic parent will always hold the golden child in high regard and take credit for anything outstanding that this child does. This is because the golden child has a greater chance of becoming a narcissist themselves. Golden children are prettier and more handsome, usually more handsome than their sibling counterparts. The golden child will also be a perfectionist. Their house has to be immaculate, their clothes immaculate, their hair, their makeup, and so on. They will also tend to have extreme anger issues in life, and many times are viewed as someone who just is so buttoned up that nobody will ever believe that they would falter in life in any area. And if they do, if they've already developed into a narcissist, everyone will be able to blame something else on their faltering. Whereas with the scapegoat child or the firstborn or whatever, everything's their fault, no matter what. And it's never taken into account that this child was more empathetic than the golden child, and that's why they tend to get messed up in life, because they are worried about the care of other people rather than themselves. Golden children, they learn really quickly how to get along with the narcissist parent. They learn how to play the game. That's why they're usually the second born or later born children rather than the firstborn, because they watch what happens between the narcissist and their firstborn, and they learn. They're very good studiers of human behavior. They're also the ones who come along to the side of the narcissist if any of the other children fall out of good graces. They'll be right there immediately because they know that the narcissist is vulnerable and in need of attention and in need of narcissistic supply, and just their presence will supply the narcissist with what they need, and as a result they will benefit from the narcissist with gifts or attention. And all children of narcissists are always starving for the attention of their parent. They know how to work the narcissist parent to get whatever they want, and they are masters at manipulation. That is why I believe the golden child has a better chance of becoming a narcissist over the scapegoat child. And more often than not, the golden child will never go no contact with the narcissistic parent, because they too have such low self-esteem and a hunger for attention and chaos that they will actually be happy once their narcissist has a falling out with their siblings. This only means that they get the parent all to themselves, and anyone who has studied narcissism knows just how much the narcissistic parent fosters extreme competition among their children. When I say ailments of the narcissistic parent, it's a big giant merry-go-round, depending on, from time to time. In this particular case, I've seen every child treated as either a golden child or a scapegoat, just depending on what's going on. In my opinion, if there are lots of children to the narcissist, what happens is I think it's better if the narcissist just has each child one-on-one. When I was growing up, my grandfather was married to a woman who was an extreme narcissist, and she had 10 children. And I remember as a little child going to visit them that I would eventually get to the point where I was a nervous wreck whenever my mother would say we're going to visit, because that house was so full of chaos and everyone had to be so loud because they were each vying for the attention. So, their mannerisms were chaotic and loud, and it's like they were just fighting for position. So that's some of the ailments. It's extreme dysfunction when you're a child of a narcissist, especially if you're in a big family and have lots of siblings. Many times in your life you won't know where you fit. So stay tuned for my next video, where I'm going to introduce to you the gray rock method in dealing with the narcissist when it is not possible to go no contact. You guys have a great, wonderful 4th of July weekend, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.